Other M Issue 8. We see someone sitting in a chair in front of a screen in Haven. This takes me back. He tells Deuce to come closer, and Deuce Remington walks up to him looking nervous as he smiles, wearing a shirt with buttons on it reminding me of Snively's old blue shirt and Miles' newest shirt design. He tells Remington to stand at his side, telling him that as his most trusted officer, he can be more casual than that, and he says that he can refer to him as Guardian Knuckles after he's called Sir. So is this the first time he's ever telling him all this after this long of knowing him? That's coincidental. He asks him what was going on when something was happening on the screen that I can't really interpret. Remington says nervously while sweating that Commander Brock was moving a unit of Legionnaires with one N into position around the warehouse, where he had received information of a rebellion raid in progress. And Remington says that Brock had badly positioned his forces and dropped the matter in his lap. He had the Legionnaires in compromising corners looking for shots that couldn't exist. He gives some more info that Knuckles doesn't care about, and Knuckles is reminded that he had let Brock pass that position as a birthday gift to his good friend Kragok. Remington is angry at the nepotism, and thinks about how many brave people died because of that decision, and wished that he could just destroy Knuckles after that. Knuckles asks him why he's so upset, and Remington lies that he's just upset over the loss of the Legion of Manpower, and that's it. Knuckles tells him to not be so cold, because innocents died from Brock's incompetence. Wow, way to miss the point there. That's exactly what he's upset about. Knuckles presses a button, seeing Prelate Sue holding a newspaper. So I guess that's where Flynn got the idea to call the Janny Kai universe robots the Prelates. He tells his Julie Sue, or maybe it's not her, I don't know, to assemble the Chaotix and pay a terminal visit to Commander Brock. Remington is asked where to find the commander, and he says that the commander went home for mental anxiety. Knuckles scoffs that the only anxiety he would feel would be trying to read the back of a milk carton. That made me really smile. That was funny. He tells her to contact him from Brock's apartment when the job is done. He turns off the screen and asks what the rebels were up to this time. Knuckles dismisses the rebels racistly for not being echidnas, and says that besides his Chaotix, none of them are fit to do anything but the lowest of work. He also shows racism towards the dingoes, and is thankful that they know their place in the social order. Remington says with a nervous smile that he's right, so he's probably lying to keep his job. He says that it housed the machinery for the construction of their new hover transports with silly names. Knuckles says that this apparently means they have a spy in their elite. Remington tells him that it seemed fairly random, and it was near the Cavern Canis, an ideal hiding place due to all the shadows. Knuckles shows confusion that he's heard members of the rebellion were at the scene, when Remington said they were dead in a battle over a week ago. Remington says nervously that they may have been very similar to those he found dead, and says that they might have been revived by their forces. I'm just waiting for him to get found out by this point. His nervousness is making him look so suspicious, but his boss, Knuckles, is gullible enough to believe him. I guess that was intentional, since it's Knuckles. Remington says that under a few weeks of training, maybe the commander could be a good leader, but by the time Knuckles is called by Espio and Vector, they've already done their hit. That was fast, insultingly fast. How did they get all the way to his home that fast? Vector says that since the commander was found frantically packing his possessions and money, he might have been planning to join the rebellion. Knuckles is told that Prelate Sue is using the commander's facilities. Remington is naturally terrified at seeing the turncoat get what Knuckles thinks he deserved, and you'd think Knuckles would get suspicious from how scared Remington was. Then someone in the dark calls Remington a cheeky fool because he didn't say by your will like Vector did. Knuckles calls Tails, so it was Tails. I was thrown off because I only saw one tail at first. He pushes a button and goes up to the evil Tails, who says that he was raised by a perfect man. So that's why he's evil. See, this is kind of how you do it. You try to explain why an alternate Tails is evil right away. I mean, why is that so hard? But what's frustrating is that we're still not going to get a full explanation on why he's evil. We get some kind of half-hearted attempts, but no real explanation. He does the evil twins concept no better than Penrose did. Knuckles and Tails in this universe are evil just because it's an alternate dimension. When he's told that he's not grown yet, Tails says with a smirk that he really isn't. But I could have sworn I saw Tails with the freedom fighters in the earlier issues. Did they retcon that? Well, I guess this is more interesting. This issue was by Ian Flynn, and was about Remington being terrified and turning more and more against Knuckles because of how he had a traitor killed for, well, admittedly justified reasons, since his mismanagement of his position got some innocent grunts killed. And those Legionnaires honestly don't think they're doing anything wrong. They're just soldiers, not complete monsters. And they're probably perfectly fine people outside the soldiers' context. Which brings up the question of how many Legionnaires did Bill the Platypus get killed in Down Under with that? He has a lot to answer for, but not from what he'd expect. Also, it's revealed that the evil Knuckles raised the alternate Tails, causing him to have a good reason, I guess, to be a smirking evil kid. Still, you think that he would just be terrified of him? Well, I love that it's kind of explain why he's evil right away. Seeing this frustrates me, because if Flynn thinks to try to explain why this Tails is evil, because he was raised by someone evil, then why the fuck didn't he explain why Miles was? He was bullied, that's all you need to say. Also, I wonder if this Tails is plotting against Knuckles, since he's smirking when saying that he was raised by Perfect Man. I hope there's a good explanation for this. I really love seeing a third evil Tails, though. Kind of. It makes sense that there would be an evil Tails since he'd be bullied for being a mutant, but I can assume this one never was, so there goes that. So he just got raised with corrupt morals and became sadistic as a result. Wow, he's easily influenced. I thought everybody's counterparts were born with the same personality as them. Would Tails get corrupted that easily? Wouldn't he just be traumatized by this point instead? Wouldn't he just be afraid of him? The big problem with this issue was how obvious it was that Remington was nervous and therefore had something to hide. It made Knuckles look like a complete moron for not figuring him out, especially right after seeing a traitor already, and this is an alternate universe Knuckles who's a big villain. I'd expect him to be more intelligent than this. You'd think that Remington not clearly being happy about what happened to the traitor would immediately tip him off.